Hey, Caesar and Dominic, how you guys doing? Um, is the sound okay? What a mess I've got here. My cleaning cloth, and cleaning watches. Um, anyhow, let me get this up real quick. Hello, Caesar. Dominic, can you guys hear me okay? Hi, David. Thanks. Um, okay, everything's working. Thanks, Dom. Okay. Well, um, hello, Mr. Cunningham or Ms. Cunningham. How you doing? Um, Panos, good to see you. Jonathan, Graham, how are you? Paul, hey Paul. Hey John. Um, okay. Today or this morning, what I want to talk about is the warnings we give to beginners. And here's one of the problems. Just this morning, there was somebody, this guy who was going on about he said, well, if you buy an FP joint, they're gonna lose, their what you paid for it. And I thought, what? I mean, like mine, I could buy a house with the one I have that went up so much. And so, I mean, it was sort of like, and then he had some other just stupid advice. And I thought, my God, what does this guy do? I could see some poor beginner, you know, getting something. Now, one of the first things that I learned when I was beginning collecting watch, and I say this was that, maybe it's not the best thing to learn. They said, well, if you want to, if watches that keep their value, watches values really don't change. What changes is the amount of money you can sell it for. So if you buy a watch for, let's say, $10,000, and you turn around and try to sell it a month later, and it's only $7,000, the value of the watch doesn't change, but the price does. And so this advice was, get a Patek Philippe or a Rolex. And by and large, I think that's pretty true. I mean, if you're gonna, that's if you're investing in watches. On the other hand, there's some other watches that will do much better, and these are watches that a lot of people don't pay attention to until people like me have got them. So the warning is, yeah, I think my warning would be to beginners: value doesn't change. The price you're going to get for your watch changes. So get a watch you like, you really enjoy, and that would be, if you're planning on selling it, yeah, go ahead and get a Rolex or a Patek Philippe. You don't have to know anything to get either one of those. But if you want to watch with really good horological value, you're going to need to do something else, namely try to find out as much as you can. So that's that. I think, I don't know, other warnings. I've had warnings. Guy, my one of my most quote famous warnings was, don't go to 47th Street. Like, in other words, if you go to New York looking at watches and stuff, fine, but don't go to 47th Street, which is like, oh boy. And there are all of these watch shops there. And I got the two best deals ever. I bought both of my FP Journes on 47th Street from a guy in a basement office that I had to call and make an appointment with so he could be there at the same time, and got 2 great deals. And the thing about it was that what the guy had done, he had checked out with the FP Journe boutique to make sure that the watches he was selling were not stolen. So anyway, it worked out extremely well. Now that doesn't mean that was bad advice. Maybe the person who warned me against it was trying to tell me one of two things: buy a watch from him. That's one thing, and the other thing would be, these guys are really, uh, they'll skin you alive. Well, they can if you don't know anything, I think. Anyway, so that was one warning that, sometimes they're good warnings and sometimes they're bad warnings. Um, and so that's how I thought, well, let's talk about this. Let's hear some warnings you had, or warnings you would give to somebody just starting off. One warning I would give anybody and not have to worry about it. If you're going to have a gator strap sent from overseas, don't. All right, just have them send the watch and have them send the strap separately, and then if it gets stopped because of some CITES violation, you just lose the strap, not the whole watch. That happened to me once. They sent me the watch with the gator strap, and they sent it back and had to go through all of that. So that would be one warning that I think that I learned by experience. A guy not too long ago ran into that same thing and had to don't do it. Okay, so let's hear some warnings you have. Some YouTube comment section expert yesterday was trying to say that a slower beat rate means a cheaper movement. Yeah, that's another thing, Koji. I mean, all you've got to do is go to the Grand Prix winners, look at them, and they all have a lower frequency. It's like, I don't know who said that. There are so many dumb things that are said. There's certain people who there are a couple different things. There's this one. I'm not going to identify it, but there's maybe more than one. But there's this one that seems to be based on, I guess, what is sort of the popularity of the watch. I don't know if this person knows anything about horology or doesn't know very much, but is very much focused on popular watches, the watches they think are popular, and at least according to the number of people who tune in, this person's doing pretty well. So it's the kind of thing that, I think there's a lot of responsibility if you're going to have a YouTube channel. Uh, you know, you should you get some responsibility yourself to try to get some decent information. Um, but that doesn't always happen. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Um, let's see what else you guys have. Hey, Caesar, research before you buy. That's the most important thing. I think that is, Caesar. You can't. There's no substitute, and I think it's important to do your own research. Uh, the reason I, I've said things, and I go out and try to find out everything about a watch I can. And sometimes I'm wrong. I mean, sometimes I get bad information. That's no good. So, my advice is the ultimate authority is you. Try to go to as many different sources as possible. One of the problems is that some of these places that I'll go, for example, I'll go and I'll look up, oh, what are some of the places I like to, oh, Hodinky, if they have an article. I'll tell you one I really do trust is Quill and Pad. Seem to be really good quality materials that they have there. But again, um, you know, check. Always double check everything. I think that's important. Okay, what else you got? AH and Rolex is an average brand with extraordinary consistent marketing. I agree. I couldn't agree more. Hi, Rel. Good morning. Let's see. Dominic, sometimes it's almost a form of protecting their source of their deals Who would ever do anything like that? I tell you, I got to admit, some of the things I say, "Oh, here's a really good deal," after I got my watch. But so you gotta be careful on that. Dominic, that's a good point. Um, hey, Paul, let's see. Sounds like a standard on 47th Street. Many pieces seem to places expect you to make an appointment so they'll have a specific watches of interest. Paul, this guy, the one on 42nd Street I went to, he had a very, I mean, he wasn't one of those shops you go into and there are all of these watches. He went in and he had the FP Joint Resonance and he had the FP Joint Chronomet Souverain that I was looking at. That was all. That was all in this little office he had. He had a time grapher and a few things like that. And there was somebody there. I had to, give them even before they let me in the building, they gave me the word. I got to tell you something. 47th Street between Fifth Avenue and Sixth Avenue, it's got to be the safest place on earth. They got these guys standing out in the street. I think they'd take you apart if you tried anything. They don't look it, but they're there. I'd read an article about it's also called the Diamond District. You don't want to mess around there. I think that doesn't mean that you can't have some Sharpies selling suckers watches, you know. So, hey Brian, how you doing? Don't tell your wife. That's really good. That's a great warning, John. That's our our drop by a really nice jewelry store. No one cares about your watch. You buy what you like. Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I do think you need to, even ones you like. I've liked watches and found out that there's some crummy movement or something else about them I don't like. So, yeah, but you're right about that. I agree. Don't and the same thing is true for art collector. Read about art collection and see what art collectors do, and they tell you, they say, buy something you enjoy looking at on your wall. Maybe there'll be a worth a lot, maybe not, but at least you'll have something you like. Uh, Rancher, do your homework and buying, yeah, or selling a piece. You should know at least as much as the other party. Exactly. A lot of times you'll know more, and that's a good point. Speed equal wear and tear. Yes, 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 yes. You're right, Dominic. Tim, I like WatchMax and Joma Shop for discounts. Yeah, me too. They have great ones. I was just looking at one this morning. When you start collecting, don't rush out and buy on impulse. Um, Graham, that is really great advice. But one, sometimes I can't. I get excited about something. I see something. Oh boy, oh boy. Off I go. But you're right. That's very good advice. Alberto, how you doing? I found against common sense, eBay is a great place. I agree. I agree about eBay, especially when they have that the thingamajig, what's it called? The inspector or something like that. They'll the verifier, I forgot what they called it. Anyway, that's a pretty good thing. I always feel better and they come in this really great box when I go through the verification. Gotta tell you though, I did get one watch and the moon phase didn't work. Everything else about the watch is perfect, but the moon phase. I have no luck with moon phases. So, and but I it's always one of those things. I mean, I can set it and everything. Focus on quality over quantity. I agree with that. Advice, as well as seasoned buyers, is to go down to a basement and not to go down to a basement. uh, Hi, how are things in Australia? Man, pretty early there, I think, isn't it? Or pretty late, one of the two. Hi, Bruce. Hey, Henry. I used to go be an impulse buyer. Now I looked it over. Good idea. Yeah, I sometimes, here's the thing. Let's say you spend a lot of time finding out about a watch and you can't afford it, and you keep looking and you can't afford it. All of a sudden, there's one that you can't afford, and you got the money, and boom, that's the impulse. Now, I had pretty good luck with that, but see, I'd already done the research, and so it's not a matter of sort of going in there like, fat, dumb, and happy. It's just sort of it's happy. Um, buy similar watches so the spouse doesn't know what's happening. Oh, okay, warning, don't watch Archie on the tube. Rod, that's sort of a funny kind of thing. I would agree with that, but at one time when I first started collecting, Archie had some really good advice. And then he started wanting 20 bucks for a review, and the reviews were, they didn't seem to be much, but yeah, I agree. There's Archie's not the only one, that Archie's fun. Archie's entertainment. I don't think, and a certain type of entertainment, I guess. But no, I think this is one thing I have, one of my favorite people to listen to is Tim Mosso. Tim could sell rowboats to desert rats, and the thing that Tim is dealing with, though, his description of watches is so rich that I wanna go out and buy them all right? And that's his job, but these are watches. I mean, poor Tim is you gotta he's working for a big company, Govberg, I think, and watch what they call watch something or other that they have. And so he's got a watch, and, he'll tell you all about it and how wonderful it is no matter what. Alright? That I don't think he talks about watches he doesn't like. I don't know. Okay, be aware of the tax levied by the wife payable in diamond jewelry. Yes, Maynard, that's the tax. I always have to stop by. It went from stopping by Tiffany's to now it's Van Cleef and Arpels. That place is really uh, tasers. Taste. Oh yeah, taste came over time. I started with two watches and shifted to hype watches. Hype watches? I don't know what that is. Authenticity guaranteed. Yeah, I think, hmm, Brian, I I could get something in the authenticity. I always trust myself with guaranteeing the authenticity. Unfortunately, that only happens once I have it. That's why I like those evaluators that eBay has. Um, that's something that I could fake authenticity guarantees, and so I if I could fake it, I guess anyone could, but that's a good point. You don't wanna buy a phony watch. This is one of the problems with really popular watches. They're more likely to have fakes made of them. That's important to know. Hi, Raoul. I can't afford the hype watches, nor do I like them much, so I focus on custom builds using better, fancier, decorated versions of mostly Unitas 6497s, Hamiltons. Yeah, the Germans, there's certain German companies that have wonderful watches using the 6497, 6498. You're right about that, and I happen to like those movements as well. They're hand wound, and also the 6498-1, not 97-1 is 18,000 VPH, which is really nice. Paul, let's see. There's a similar setup in Atlanta with different floors and complex with different types of vendors on different floors. For example, jewelers and watch on the same floor. Yeah, they at least where I live, the in the Hartford area, our very best watch store, I think the top of their line used to be Patek Philippe, and now it seems to be Rolex. And so, but there's not too far from here. You get into Greenwich, Connecticut, and you've got two watch stores that have a really good line. You go take the train into New York, you got everything. Hey, Truman. Archie was good for new beginners, but no depth of his knowledge. Yeah. Also, too, he was too. Yeah, Brian Watchbox. Archie's too flippant about calling watches names and things like that he doesn't know anything about. Wearing the double hairspring this morning. You betcha. This is my Henry uh, H. Moser et Company Henry double hairspring. I tell you, it's funny. One of these watches, I actually wasn't crazy about it as much when I first got it, but I liked the double hairspring so much I didn't care. But the longer I have it, the more I look forward to wearing it, and I couldn't be happier with it. Does anyone really need more than 5 or 7 watches? Best to choose wisely. I agree. Choose It's better to have a good collection. My problem is that mine got out of hand, and was nothing I could do. It it grew. It just grew. I've got to sell a couple watches and bring it down a little, but I I I don't think right now I have a watch I really don't like. I mean, I don't have any watches that I don't like. I'm sort of wondering about my 736, my uh, Jacques 736 movement watches that I like so much, but they're fun, and that's sort of a different kind of thing. This is something else you can do is make up something that you like or see something you like and collect on the basis of that. And, the heck with anybody else. as a as a warning, I think, Bruce, is that if you have better to have fewer better than lots and lots of stuff that that end up in a case or someplace you never use. The other day I had to go out, so how come my hands are all banged up? I had to do some yard work with these vines and stuff. So I got out my Seiko 5, my long suffering Seiko 5. It's my yard work. That thing is such a great little watch, and set the date and time, and it's a day date. It's got everything, and it was $97. Great watch. I agree. Tim Musso is very good communicator. Is also an enthusiastic, which makes him entertaining, worth listening to. Yeah, no, he's great. He really is. I think the guy's worth his weight in gold for it. But I never heard him really trash a watch that needed trashing. I have a very bad habit. I keep all my collectibles and never sell anything. Hope I don't run out of room. Yeah, Dom. Yeah, it's sort of like giving away a child, isn't it? Hey, for Jan, I'm a beginner. Sound like should I stick to ADs? They're not safe. None of them are safe. Um, I wouldn't stick to ADs. I never have. I think I've gotten one watch from an AD, and I got lucky and got a good buy from him. I think the thing about it is Fuyan Survivor. I wouldn't stick. I wouldn't stick with ADs. Now, in terms of there are certain places I do trust. Uh, I've heard a lot of places that have been trashed, but I haven't had that experience. Like, for example, Joma Shop, but the person who told me, "Oh, you got to watch out for Joma Shop," was selling watches himself, and so I don't trust there are a lot of things. It's you got to be careful, who you listen to. I mean, you don't want to listen to a guy like me. I'm totally irresponsible. Like I go out, I'll go get some. But you want to be sure they're not trying to sell you something else. They're you can even find guides unique to certain clock makers. Okay. There's an Adam in your watch group that is relatively gifted newbie watch repair. Oh, cool. Marcelo time. How you doing? What is your opinion of the new collectors, young generations? How do you see the future of the watch collectors? Man, I don't know. I think there seem to be different circles that people travel in watch collection. You take, for example, brand fans. I'll call them that. Rolex is probably the most famous for that, but I'm sure they have them in Omega and this and that and so forth. Um, that's one thing. I think some of the young ones see one of the things that we have now. I mean, we all grumble about the internet, but one thing the internet does do, it provides a lot more voices. I mean, for example, all of you have a voice uh, more that's magnified. So, I mean, it's not a matter of you start your watch collection and the only person to listen to is the guy at the watch store. Now there are a lot of different places. Now, um, so I think, and it would seem that younger collectors are a lot more internet savvy. Um, so you have all of that, going on. So I think you may end up with you know, you may end up with a little savvier watch collector than maybe earlier generations that were more likely to follow sort of mob rule, so to speak. Yeah, I know. Dominic, I agree. I liked him, his stuff. Let me tell you a place that I found. If I really have a question about a watch and there's good information, I like to go to auctions, Sotheby's auction and, Phillips and Christie's, big auction houses. They've got very good details about a watch they're selling. I'm not sure why. It may have something to do with legal issues or something like that, that they have to make sure that what they're selling, especially some of these more expensive ones. But that's always a good place, and more often than not, you'll find the caliber of a movement. That's another warning, uh, you know, learn how to use, what's it called? Watch face to find out about movements in your watch. I mean, this is why I get so mad at, companies like Breitling and, IWC and some of these other ones. They have these phony baloney names that make it sound like it's in-house and it's not. I mean, why can't they if they're gonna use a Salida or a, ETA movement, I've got no problem with that. Both movements, they make some very, decent movement. Say what it is, and so you know what you're getting. So if you have a Salida, it's you could it's easy to follow a Salida back to it's based on an ETA something or other. But that I think is very important, is the warning, watch out for those guys. When you're telling I hate to tell somebody, "Oh, these guys might pull something on you, so watch them." But that's true. Truman. Yeah, it's fair enough is right. Hey, Caesar, talking about age, I'm curious, what is the youngest, LaRique owner? I don't know. We don't have an age thing, but they have to be a certain height. We have just like Disneyland, we have a thing they gotta walk under. Uh, I really don't know. Auction has great deals, but, please be careful. Yeah, about auctions, that's a good point about a warning about auctions. You know, I what would be very sad, somebody wins at an auction and doesn't know that there's a 25% premium on top of whatever their winning bid was. There's something that's called the hammer price, and then there's the price, that's sort of the final price, and it's the really top auctions, it's about 25%. It's less at some other auctions, so that's yeah, that's the thing. At auctions, I don't know. I guess there's no a lot of them. There's your top auctions, there is a filter. A lot of these other ones, there may not be. Hey, hater, check the movement. Yeah. Yeah. George Daniels used to work part-time for Christie's and gave them information on watches, in his evaluation. I didn't know that, Rod. That's good to know. The only auction house I've worked with selling watches is Sotheby's, and they're okay. Did a good deal selling my watch. Okay, yeah, Caesar. Yeah, you better be kidding. Reek in a way shows exactly what's wrong with the hobby. It's always been a great watch, but so many don't know or care until Matchbox featured this. Was it Matchbox? I didn't know. Was it? I thought it was Watchfinder. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Uh, I tell you though, Rancher, you are absolutely right, Clyde. That's right. Time's up. Okay. Time flies when you're having fun. Huh? Okay, guys, I gotta go. Uh, for those who weren't selected before the video, no hopes for us. Caesar, the thing is that when we started Larique, it wasn't even called that. I think our first name was Seduzant. We were told that was sort of seen as pornographic in some Swiss circles, so we changed the name to Larique. Yeah, the 25% markup on auctions can make them unattractive to use them to purchase a watch. Yeah, auctions can be lots of fun and can also get out of hand. Selling your watch, you want them to get out of hand. All right. You want two people who know each other and hate each other, and they're gonna make sure the other guy's beaten, and you're gonna watch the price go up. Too many are seeking some kind of outside validation. The REAP project was a rousing success. So a lot of work. It ain't over. Okay, guys, gotta go. Hey, Rancher, as always, I'll probably ask you about some ideas you have for a topic this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Let's talk about something about uh, dealing with so that something for beginners. Any ideas on that? Let me know. We'll see you guys. Take care.